But first off, let's go ahead. Let's start talking Robert Redford. We have fantastic guest, Joe Fortunato, professor over at Arizona State University, joining us on Zoom right now. Joe, let's go over your credentials right now, because we're going to spend about, I think, 9 hours going over all of Robert Redford's credentials. I mean, it's unreal. You got the Fortunato Film School. You have done everything film-related out in L.A., and now you're here teaching kids at ASU, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Get me started here. Big picture. Is there really anyone that's had a larger role in the film industry than Robert Redford over the last, 50, 60 years?
Yeah, probably not.
Well, I mean, his career, thank you for having me here. It's a sad day because Redford was truly an icon. I mean, I know we toss that word out so often, legend, we toss that out, but they both apply in this case. And you're right, it's been longevity. I mean, he first came, into our sort of consciousness in the 60s and really has never left. And, when I was growing up, he was sort of the dictionary definition of what a movie star was. And we don't have very many movie stars anymore. And he was definitely one of them and still is.
Yeah. Looking at some of kind of the list of movies, and Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid, that was, going way, way, way back. But some of the stuff that he did with Paul Newman, kind of the bromance that they had together, and then what they did even outside the film world as far as just kind of their environmental causes and political causes and things like that, that was really interesting as well. But yeah, when you talk about just kind of being the movie star, he was like the big movie star with my mom and dad. My parents are kind of a similar age, and he was kind of like our Tom Cruise. When you kind of talk about generations, Tom Cruise is kind of like our big movie star right now, a Brad Pitt kind of. Robert Redford was, to an older generation, like the guy. And the thing about him that I thought was so cool, he just looked phenomenal. The hair, he didn't have to do anything. He just had the look.
He was a movie star.
Right, Joe?
Well, it's a funny story about his looks. Absolutely. Again, he was sort of the textbook definition of a good-looking, masculine male of the 70s. But sometimes that hurt him. He was going up for the role of Benjamin in The Graduate, believe it or not. So this is way, way back in the beginning. And, the character of Benjamin had trouble with women. And so they asked him in the interview, Bob, tell me about a time you've had, trouble dating women. And he goes, well, what do you mean? And they go, okay, he's not right for this part at all, because that just sums up, his looks, his all-American looks. And, that just, even as an older gentleman, he just sort of had those iconic looks. And he came onto the scene, like I said, he is a star in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. You mentioned his chemistry with Paul Newman. They went on to do The Sting, which won a Best Picture. And then, ironically, talking about The Graduate, he ended up working with Dustin Hoffman on All the President's Men. Just so many great films. And as a director, we can't forget that he was a great director. His first time out as a director, he won the Oscar for Best Director for Ordinary People. And he kind of paved the way for actors that would be directors like Kevin Costner and Mel Gibson and so on and so forth. So many pioneering aspects to his career as well.
What a good point right there. It's unreal. Your first time ever doing something, for someone to give you the award for being the best in the world at it.
Yeah, totally.
That's crazy. And I love that you mentioned Brad Pitt too, because my introduction as a kid to Robert Redford was Spy Game.
Oh, okay.
Loved that. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I like this guy. He's fantastic. Let me see more. I fell in love as a kid to the Bourne Identity TV miniseries before the movie The Bourne Identity that he was on. He played the original Jason Bourne before Matt Damon did.
That's true.
Yeah, and I loved that. And I think that's something, his filmography is just so vast and incredible like that. Had so many impacts and all of that. Time, I know they listed him as one of the top 100 most influential people in the world in the early 2000s.
I think you have to agree with that when you think of all the things he had going on out there. Want to ask you, though, about what role stands out to you as the one, when we look back on his career, we're going to say, that's Robert Redford?
Boy, that's so hard to say. I guess it depends on sort of what perspective you're coming from. As a culturally, I would probably have to say, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I mean, we haven't even mentioned this yet, but another really integral part of his legacy is the Sundance Film Festival. He named that after his character in that movie.
What a good point.
Critically, probably Ordinary People for winning, like you said, just right out of the gate, winning Best Director for his first directing. As an enduring audience favorite, it's probably The Sting or The Natural or something like that. So many favorites. I think it kind of depends on what genre you're into, or what your age bracket is, or just where you're coming from in terms of what you want to appreciate by this artist, because he did so many things.
Yeah, there was a newer movie. I mean, newer, I say like 93, and I'd forgotten about Indecent Proposal.
Oh yeah,
that was the premise was pretty bad. But I mean, Demi Moore was in it, Woody Harrelson was in it, and I was just watching a scene from it. Billy Bob Thornton, like a very young Billy Bob Thornton, was in it, and I mean, you talk about Robert Redford playing a billionaire. He played a billionaire perfectly in that movie. Yeah. And so, that was kind of one of those, roles where if you hadn't seen him and you weren't alive, had no idea that he was around for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, then you might have seen him maybe in Indecent Proposal. And
well, he goes way back to early Twilight Zone episodes. He was a guest on a Twilight episode back in the early 60s. So, you can see him as a young actor then. He wasn't just a leading man. He was really the symbol of a generation there, mostly in the 70s, but so many other decades, as we've talked about. And he had a quiet charisma that, you could sort of look at him as, oh my gosh, he's this, gorgeous human being, but he was also a little bit of an everyman, and his characters were flawed sometimes. And so he was relatable to people in that way. And I think that's a big part of his appeal.
I think you're 100% right. I know my dad would always talk about him, and then he loved Harrison Ford too, from Indiana Jones specifically. And it was just like, those were just guys he related with and wanted to be, and all of that vibe. And then growing up, you do that. I remember watching The Natural with my dad.
True.
Like, I remember being introduced to that, and that guy was just awesome. And everything he did, such a sad loss that he's not going to be here, because he was making movies up until just a couple of years. What was the last thing he was in? Like 2018, I think he was in Avengers or something. I think I didn't see that, but
yeah.
Are you going to be talking, I imagine, to some of the students there at ASU? Is this when there's a moment like this, you talk to them about moments and actors like this?
Well, anytime I can get a chance to talk about film history to my students, I do. We focus a lot on film production here at the Sidney Poitier New American Film School, but I have a soft spot in my heart for film history, and he is certainly a big part of that. But like I said, the fact that he was a proponent of independent and young filmmakers through his Sundance Film Festival is a huge thing. That's still a huge thing, even for our young filmmakers coming out of ASU
now, but I
to have those kinds of opportunities to showcase their films.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you, Joe, for joining us. Joe Fortunato over there at ASU. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
Thanks.